on YouTube and on our own tapes that go out to seniors to this service of worship. It's October the 30th. It's Eastminster United Church in Belleville, Ontario, Canada. My name is Magarrell, and I'm a visiting minister here, though I worked here a few years ago. And it's a privilege to be here. So thank you for being with us. And if you're in the area, come and join us. It's always a joy and a privilege to lead in the Sunday worship service of a congregation in this United Church. As a guest minister, even having been part of a congregation, you feel like you're coming into something. You're not sure where everybody's at. You're not sure what you've been talking about, although we all remember very well what we were talking about last Sunday. And we had a great experience with, I think, Reverend Ken Norman last Sunday. So the themes are often one that one follows by the seasons, sometimes within the life and work of a continuing series within a church. It needs to be relevant, we hope, thoughtful, and something that allows us to think. A sermon is not something that we preach at you. It shouldn't be at any rate. It's a time to get your own thoughts thinking about what it is you are thinking about as it relates to this theme, and to smile sometimes and to think back on those who've gone before us. Each of us as Christ seekers has our personal images of God in our heart and in our mind. These images may have changed and continue to change through the years as we experience our life with all its uncertainties, the challenges and personal enlightening discoveries. We can't divorce ourselves from our circumstances, lived and experienced, whether good or bad, liberating or stressful, frightening or joyful. We're the product, though not a prisoner, of all that life has been to this point. Today, the day before we celebrate Halloween, I want to focus on a reality that each of us wears many masks in our life's journey as we play out our different roles in our families, in our communities, in our work, and in our play. I don't know about you, but I've always been fascinated by masks since I was a small boy growing up on a grain farm in rural Manitoba, and I may have said this before. I was allergic to grain dust. My father would place a mask over my mouth, goggles on my eyes, so I could do farm work and barn chores. It worked for me. It worked for me, even if some of my cousins thought it looked weird, using one of the kinder words to describe what they thought. But in my own perverse way, I kind of liked to be a little different than they were. So masks have been a part of my life since I was very, very young. Early theater in Europe, particularly in Greece, had actors holding up a series of masks to differentiate who they were now portraying on stage. Voices might be varied, but the chief clue was the new mask that they placed before them. One, and then the other, you were a different person. People viewing the theatrical piece understood in this way who was now speaking, even though the man behind the different mask was the same. Masks enable the actors to express joy, anger, despair, sadness, by utilizing the different mask face held up over their faces. The Greeks developed and perfected theater, whether tragic or comedy, in this way. And in museums around the world, there still are some of these precious masks still in existence. So each of us does wear a different mask in a variety of places in our life. We have the mask of husband or wife, son or daughter, father or mother, colleague at work, or a colleague in our group and clubs. I don't see a mask as being an evil thing. I don't see masks as being something that says we're being other than ourselves, but it gives us a freedom to be different in our various places of work or play. They enable us to perform the role required for the various aspects of our life. But our task is not to allow any one mask to dominate who we really are, because we're multifaceted personalities. We're healthier when we're conscious of each other's masks and respectful of that at the appropriate times. Early Christian leaders, theologians, and preachers struggled with how to explain God in light of the life, death, and resurrection of Jesus and the subsequent appearance of the Holy Spirit. Runs through the whole of the New Testament. Did we now have three gods? Have we abandoned the great understanding of the Hebrews that there's only one God, Jehovah himself? The debates were long, they were hard, they were anxious, and extremely tense. But without going into a long treatise, the final settled answer was called the Holy Trinity. The conclusion was somewhat like the Greek theater's use of masks. The church councils affirmed there were three ways we know God. The three faces of God, the three masks of God. First, the all-powerful and generous Creator. Second, the person of Jesus. And third, the Holy Spirit. The Holy Trinity, the three in one. It was not easy to fully understand then. It's not easy to understand today. How do you put this concept into words has puzzled theologians, scholars, and believers for 2,000 years. The phrase three-person God came into use very early. The three forms of God, the three manifestations of God, the three masks of God. In our opening hymn, Holy, 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 we sang these well-known words, God in three persons, Blessed Trinity. I want to share a poem with you that I may have shared sometimes over the years I've been here, I'm not sure. But John Donne, an English poet, penned many sonnets known as the Holy Sonnets, and some of you will remember these. He had a unique ability to bring together intellect and passion in his work. And perhaps his best known of the sonnets is entitled Batter My Heart, Three-Person God. And in this sonnet he asks how God can break into his heart and life unless God actively works to break down the barriers John has built around himself. He feels he has gradually fallen away from God and given himself over to the darker elements of life as he described it. So let me read this sonnet to you, and many of you will no doubt will remember it. And if I read it before, I apologize. Batter my heart, three-person God. For you as yet but knock, breathe, shine, and seek to mind and to mend. That I may rise and stand, overthrow me, and bend your force to break, blow, burn, and make new. I, like a usurped town in another do, labor to admit you, but oh, to no end. Reason your viceroy in me should defend. But it's captive and proves weak or untrue. Yet dearly I love you, and would be loved fain. But I am betrothed unto your enemy. Divorce me, untie or break that knot again. Take me to you, imprison me, for I, except you enthrall me, never shall be free, never ever chaste, except you ravish me. This was John Donne's all-or-nothing approach to God, saying God is full of passion, energy, response to those, and that he himself was pleading, and he was asking for clarity from God. I cannot do this on my own, he boldly states. You, God, have to be an active participant in this process if I'm to have the strength to continue my journey to you. I've always appreciated these words of John Donne in this sonnet. Like John, I too have pled to God to break through all my barriers, my masks, real or perceived. And yet perhaps, like John, I also fear if God were to succeed in what I wish for and expose me naked for whatever I am. Then even so, more so, I wonder if I would truly respond to move on ahead to the path God points me to travel. I don't know how you feel yourself about your life, but over time I've been comfortable behind some of my masks. Who's the real person behind these different personas? It's not a question of whether I'm evil or beyond redemption, but rather how much more useful I could become to the world if I was part of God's plan. We need our masks to express ourselves, but we would still be as authentic as possible. And so you and I need to cry the words of John Donne. I do at any rate. Batter my heart, three-person God, might that we may glimpse anew the wonder of the love, his love for us and God's call to newness of life. Our pilgrimage is far from over. Many of our masks not only hinder us, but sometimes assist us in what we are doing. We plead with those around us and with our God that we may be more useful in what we do in the times ahead. Really, life is very exciting. Somewhat of the excitement that we have, we need to rediscover some of the excitement we have with Halloween. The kids that come with the bright eyes and the masks on the side and all that sort of thing. So let us be aware of our own masks, which make up so much of who we are. They're part of what makes us unique as human beings and children of God. I just want to say that thanks be to God that we are together and we are enabled to share in the wonder of the love of this world. Amen.